Well, hi everyone again, and welcome to our latest podcast. Again, today we have another topic, and we're delighted to welcome along to our podcast William Cooper from William Russell. So welcome, William, to our podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome, and it's great to know that you guys have been going around now for this is your 33rd year, which is amazing in the insurance industry for you guys. And as I mentioned earlier, uh, I've known your uncle for quite a long time, and it's nice to see the success of a family run business. So congratulations on that. Perhaps, William, you could start by telling us a little bit about the history of international health insurance in terms of for expats and people who retire abroad, because I think it's probably a relatively new business, even though, you guys have been going for over 30 years.
Yeah, I mean, my knowledge is kind of restricted to the history of William Russell, which is, as you mentioned, since 1992. But I believe the first product was in the mid 90s, mid 70s, sorry. And I know that Inez, my mother, was working with expat clients with her previous the company she was working at before she started William Russell, and that's how she got into this market. So but in the 90s, there weren't that many insurers or brokers who were working with international insurance for expats, and the market was very focused on Indonesia, Hong Kong, and the UAE increasingly through the late 90s and early 2000s. And I think in those days there wasn't much competition. So, but towards the end of the 90s and the early 2000s, a few more providers entered the market. Most notably multinationals like Allianz, Cigna, Aetna, and these players already had well-established domestic health insurance companies, and it was quite easy for them to leverage their operations internationally and have the benefit of their brand name. So things became a bit more competitive, a bit harder for smaller companies like William Russell. And the market started crystallizing around expat hubs like Dubai, Hong Kong. But things have got increasingly hard in those cities for various reasons. Hong Kong in particular, towards the mid 2010s, losses became extremely unsustainable for many insurers. So there's quite a lot of pullback in that market. In Dubai, things changed dramatically with the DHA enforcing various different regulations, which only made it really suitable for the larger insurers who are able to operate at a big scale. But it's the market's changed, and that expats have moved to different countries, and we've moved away from our traditional supporting British expats. We now we provide insurance to Americans, Canadians, South Africans, and they go to different destinations to the traditional UK expats. So the market has kind of broadened in a way, even though as it's become more competitive. So I hope that gives you a bit of a summary.
Yeah, no, that was excellent. Thanks a lot for that. And interesting, what you've said about the markets and how they've evolved, from places like Dubai and Hong Kong. So what would be your key markets now for international health insurance where, you're perhaps doing a higher volume of business in sort of newer markets? Would this be in Asia or the Middle East or Europe or Latin America? Where would the majority of your business come from, would you say?
It's still very much Southeast Asia. So Indonesia and Thailand are two big countries for us, and those are two traditional markets. But increasingly, Southern and Eastern Africa, they're a big focus. There's Botswana, Malawi, places where South African nationals tend to move to. And in recent years, with the situation in South Africa, we've seen more and more people emigrate. So that's becoming an increasingly important market for us. Mauritius as well is becoming a bit of a hub. And you mentioned Latin America. Yeah, Mexico has become quite a big center for us as well, and that's mainly explained by US nationals moving south of the border. So we still do business in Dubai and Hong Kong, and but increasingly we're moving away towards countries where the cost of healthcare is lower. That's where William Russell started, is providing insurance in countries where private healthcare wasn't terribly expensive. Hong Kong, Thailand became much more expensive. Same in Dubai. So now we're moving our focus to countries which were kind of matched our original focus.
Okay, that's interesting. And in terms of your market, you mentioned that probably in the early days, historically, I guess your market was British expats, but I'm guessing, as you mentioned earlier, that's probably changed a lot. And also, as more and more people perhaps look to move and retire in other countries, do you also cater to this market as well? So, yeah, I mean, I guess if you can tell us a little bit about who is your typical client nowadays, are they employees? And also, do you also get business from people who are retiring in other countries than where they were, the country of their passport, who also need insurance because perhaps it's not provided for them locally?
On the subject of retirees, it's not really our target market. We don't really have a specialist senior plan for any of our product lines, and the premiums do tend to get quite expensive as you age. So our main kind of sweet spot is 25 to 55 or so. Although we do have some benefits with particularly with health and life insurance. Or once the member's on cover, they can renew. In the case of health, they can renew as long as they like. There's no upper age limit once they have a policy in force. And likewise for life, you can renew up to age 70. And we don't apply additional underwriting questions or even if the member's health deteriorates. So it's quite an attractive proposition for people who are looking to settle long term in the country. But yeah, the products aren't really catered to new business senior members. And yes, so in terms of our kind of key, our typical demographic, it's mainly individuals and families. And on the corporate side, it tends to be smaller corporates. I mean, we're not really set up to deal with large corporates. So typically, employees between 3 and 50 is where we're comfortable writing business.
Okay, thanks for that. And obviously one of the key questions that perhaps, or kind of one of the key points that our listeners will be interested in is obviously if you take out a health insurance policy, one of the key points obviously is the admin and the claims history, and the sort of service that you provide to your customers. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that's gone over the last 30 years and if you've won any awards or if there's anything that sets you apart from, as you say, these bigger companies?
Well, the way William Russell operates is that we're a managing general agent, which essentially means we act like an insurance company, but we don't carry the risk. So we rely on our partners for that in the various markets we operate. And our key global partner is Allianz. So they will be the insurer for the policy, and William Russell will do all the front ends. So we deal with the customer, we handle the marketing, the sales, the accounts, we design the products. To all intents and purposes, it's a William Russell product. So that's where we see our differential is that service. So really, that's really our kind of our USP is that we have the financial security of Allianz, but we have the personal touch with a small family-run business. So that means our claim service is a bit different to our competitors. It's much more personal and much more compassionate, and we're able to retain that because we're not aiming to grow at the same levels as our competitors are. We're aiming to grow sustainably and keep our capacity to deliver a good claims service. And that's reflected in the awards we have won. I know in 2000, maybe it was 1999 or 2000, we won a Financial Times award for International Insurance Provider of the Year. And I know that was quite a while ago, but an award like that for a company like William Russell has such a huge impact. And our business doubled over a couple of years on the back of that award. And since then, we've won various different awards. We at the Health and Protection Awards in 2022, we won Best Individual Medical Insurance Provider. And the year before that, we won an award with the ITIJ Journal. And more recently, we've won a few awards from FIFO, which is our independent customer service review platform. And we've won Platinum Awards twice in a row, which is the Platinum Award is given to companies who have achieved a certain level of customer service over a long period, in our case, 5 years. So it really is something which we do not want to let slip, our claims delivery service, and it's where we see our key differential from our competitors.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would agree with you there because, as you know, I've been involved in, promoting health insurance for, over more than a few decades. And certainly, the clients who I've had with you, they've always had an excellent experience when it comes to claims or any issues like that. And obviously the other thing as well is that as you've developed and you've got bigger, I believe you now offer direct billing in more countries. You know, how does that work now in terms of what countries you offer that in, and how do you see that as a benefit to clients that you have?
Well, direct billing, our network is quite small. We're not. It's difficult for a company of our size to have a large direct billing network. We just don't have the resources to sign up multiple hospitals around the world. So what we've done is we've focused our attentions on countries where we have a big customer base, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's a place where we're looking to grow new business. It's just where our members historically have been. So although we don't run much new business in Singapore, our largest kind of presence for direct billing is in Singapore. We have 50 or so facilities where our members can go for direct billing. So it's as a bit of an explainer, it's a way for customers to access outpatient treatment without having to part with any cash from their own pocket. They can just flash a membership card at a hospital in our network, and they will be able to receive eligible treatment without having to pay anything, and the facility will bill us directly. So it's quite handy for people who are looking for like a comprehensive true insurance experience where they don't have to part with cash. In places where we don't have a direct billing network, we operate on a pay and claim basis. So we'll reimburse any medical expenses within about 5 working days. But it's our key geographical focus for direct billing is Singapore, as I mentioned, Hong Kong, China, Vietnam, Cambodia, where we recently signed up the facilities in the Intercare group, and some countries which don't really fit into that. So India, Turkey, and the UK, which kind of move away from the Southeast Asia paradigm.
Okay, excellent. And the other thing is, you mentioned earlier in the podcast as well that you're also having a few schemes with smaller companies, and this is sort of the market that you're looking for. Can you sort of tell me a little bit about these kind of schemes and what kind of companies would benefit from, the medical insurance that you would provide for these companies? Are there any special discounts that you offer to small companies, and how flexible are you when it comes to designing schemes for these types of companies?
Well, yeah, we have discounts for groups. That's one of the main advantages of coming with a company policy. One of the hallmarks of our group products is the flexibility. So we're one of the few providers that allows groups to have mixed levels of cover. So that can be quite useful if there's a group of say 20 so employees, and there are 5 managers or directors, and for the rest of the workforce, they want some differentiation between benefits they receive. So we're able to support that, and not all of our competitors can do that. So that can be quite attractive to a company who doesn't want to have different insurers for different groups or different categories of employees. In terms of flexibility and other support we can provide, well, we like to keep our groups, we like to be focusing on groups between sizes of 3 and 50 employees or so, and that allows us to provide a much more tailored service. And one of the things we've brought out this year is providing much more tailored information for the employees. So previously we would have quite generic plan documents and policy documentation. This year we've started providing tailored membership guides and table of benefits to provide, and tailored landing pages as well for the employees to find out how to get the most out of their plan, how to claim, and we're finding that's gone down quite well, and it's something we're going to continue.
Okay, well, look, thanks for that, William. And I think, as you say, getting the information out to clients is quite important. I mean, we actually have a company scheme with you guys as well. And also last year as well, actually, I did a call with one of your clients, or a mutual client of ours, who sadly his mother had passed away. And he wasn't actually aware that you also provide certain benefits if you have a family member who dies, in terms of tickets back to the country where that person died. So perhaps you could tell us a little bit about some of the health benefits that you offer various clients. So not only the tickets if someone has a bereavement, but the other excellent benefits like the annual health checkups. And I also believe that you're also offering vaccination to certain types of of clients who take out various products with you. So can you just chat a little bit about that as well, please?
Okay, well, the benefits, traditionally we've been very strong with cancer benefits. So we have cover for counselling, dietitians, and wigs following chemotherapy. So there's quite a strong benefit structure for our members who are experiencing cancer and treatment for cancer, and that's something which we've continued to grow over the years, and now we provide cover for genome testing and preventative treatment as well. So that's really something we like to draw attention to when customers are considering our products. And the cancer prevalence is increasing around the world, so it's only going to become more of a problem. So we're keen to make sure that our benefits match the problem as it unfolds. And towards some of the benefits you mentioned about the return tickets for compassionate travel. This is really the kind of thing which sets apart international or expat insurance plans from domestic plans. Typically, you won't have any of these types of medevac or kind of compassionate travel benefits on them. So that's something which we also like to keep current and fresh. And those are the kind of things which really help expats in their time of need. And it's part of the reason why our reviews are so high, because we provide those additional kind of services as part of their policy. In terms of the well-being side of things, yeah, we on our silver and gold plans, we provide benefits for annual checkups, vaccinations. Yeah, this became quite an issue during the pandemic, where everyone was looking for the coverage for cover for the COVID vaccinations. So yes, we provide vaccinations for adults, for kids, plus typical annual checkups. So mammograms, that type of thing.
Okay, excellent. Thanks for that. I think that will help our listeners a lot, as you say, in terms of the extra benefits that you provide, which perhaps are not associated, as you said, with the schemes that they might find in their home country. And sort of moving on from medical insurance to talk a little bit about some of the other things that you offer. Can we discuss a little bit about your income replacement plan and how well this is taken up by clients around the world, and who you would say would be the ideal client for this kind of plan, or who are the kind of people or expats who you think would need this type of plan?
Well, it's probably of the three products we have, health, life, and income replacement, it's probably the one we sell least of, and partly because there is less demand for this product compared to life and health. It's quite a poorly understood product, and it's quite complicated to explain. So typically we will sell more health and life, but we do have inquiries for income protection, or as we call it, and are not many players in the market who do provide this product. So how it works is, if a member has an injury or illness that prevents them from working for a period that's longer than the deferment period, so typically that's 3 or 6 months, then this replacement income will kick in, and it pays up to about 24 months. And then after that point, we will assess the member's condition and see whether there's a possibility of them returning to a profession, or a similar profession, or even if it's kind of slightly different focus. And if they can't, then the payments will continue until retirement age, which I believe is 65, I think, for our products. So it's quite a useful product for people who are living in a country where there aren't traditional social security nets that they would maybe expect to enjoy in the West. But it really suits people who are permanently resident in one of those countries, who have a mortgage, have a family, have a permanent home. It's really kind of an essential benefit, I think, for people who want to protect that level of standard of life, and if they were unable to work. So that's the main use case for the product.
Yeah, no. I mean, I've used it occasionally, and as I say, probably it's also good for sort of younger expats in their 20s, 30s, and 40s who maybe haven't already built up significant wealth. And for them, if they were unable to perform their job in whichever country they're working abroad, and they still have financial needs in terms of providing for a family or a mortgage or whatever, I've found this plan quite a useful benefit for them to have. So yeah, I think it's an excellent benefit actually. And in terms of how you see the market developing in the future, how do you think the international medical insurance market will change? And in particular, what are the countries that you think you'll need to focus on as we move forward?
Well, we've seen, well, in the last few months or so, there's been quite a lot of turmoil with GBG going bust. There's been quite a lot of developments in markets where we're focused, so Dubai, Southern Africa, but where some of our larger competitors have been quite aggressive with their pricing. So when that type of thing happens, there's quite a lot of turmoil in the market, quite a lot of churn of insured members, and I mean it's difficult to see any other way than quite a lot of instability. People coming into markets, leaving markets, incurring unsustainable losses because their prices are too low. So we expect more turmoil. To be honest, it's probably not a great message for the market, but it's something which we stand against. Really, part of really our business strategy since starting was sustainable growth with a focus on underwriting, fair premiums, never hiking at renewal where we can avoid it, and just trying to grow in a really kind of sustainable way. And what we see in the market is the opposite, really. So not all providers are like that, but it is something which we're wary of, and our plan is to continue just on the same track we've been for the last 10, 15, 20 years. In terms of how the market will unfold, I mean, Dubai, I think, is getting really difficult to operate in. There's so much pressure on premium, and the experience, and we know that our competitors are also experiencing this. It's really hard from a claims perspective. So we're not sure how that's going to unfold. Outside of Dubai, we feel like there's going to be more of a focus on onshore products. So we have a relationship in Indonesia with Lippo, where we can write onshore. So that's something which we set up in 2018, and we're looking at other options. But we still think there's lots of potential to operate as an offshore provider, which is traditionally where most of our business has been written over the last 30 years. So yeah, we think it's going to be a fair amount of consolidation, a fair amount of churn, players coming in and going from markets, and our kind of strategy for the next 5-10 years is to set ourselves up against that as a kind of beacon of stability and a place for brokers and customers who are looking to find their insurance at somewhere where it's going to be fair pricing for the medium and long term.
I think that's a great summary, actually, William. And for those who are listening in, I guess the fact that even though you're not a large multinational, the fact that you've succeeded in a difficult market for the last 30 years is encouraging, because I think more and more expats now are probably staying abroad longer than they were when you set up business 30 odd years ago. So I think the history probably of clients is maybe that they might have moved abroad before for a few years and then headed back to the country that they came from. But I think you're probably seeing, and we definitely are now, that people who move abroad tend to stay abroad longer. So I think the importance of having a medical insurance with a company that's stable and has stood the test of time is really valuable. And like you, I think the market will continue to grow. It will change. I mean, definitely in Southeast Asia, where we spend a lot of our time, there are more and more international people moving abroad from different nationalities, coming to places like Indonesia, Vietnam, the Philippines, and other countries around there. So having a product provider like you who caters to all these type of people is definitely helpful. So look, again, I'd really like to thank you for your time today. Are there any final points you'd like to make before we sort of call it a day, as it were?
Yeah, I think maybe one thing which perhaps you're familiar with as well is the rise of regional insurance products, particularly in Southeast Asia. So I mean, that's something which I didn't include in my kind of summary of where the market's going to go. But I think that's something which providers like William Russell need to address, is people who are looking for a lower level of cover. perhaps with restricted hospital networks, perhaps with a restricted coverage zone. And that's something which I think local insurers are providing. And I think it's something which international providers need to meet the challenge, to meet halfway. So that's something which we're going to be looking at this year. And hopefully we can provide a bit more, some competitive premiums for those countries where we're not making that much headway with respect to new business.
Okay, well, look, that sounds great news for us and for customers out there in Southeast Asia who are looking for sort of packages, as it were. So yeah, once again, thanks a lot for your time, and also thank you very much to everyone for tuning into this podcast. And look forward to doing another one in the near future. So from me, it's bye for now.